Good morning. Welcome to another CoreCommerce webinar. This is Chris Graffinino. I am the COO of CoreCommerce for those of you who have not spoken to me before. I believe everybody on this webinar actually has. So um, I'll do the brief intro as normal and then we'll get right started. I'm excited to talk to you for a few minutes today about some of the new applications and the new plugins that we plan on building in 2021. And so I'll talk about 2020 for just a moment and then get into this couple of these features and give you an overview of what they are for and what you can do with them, and we'll go from there. And looking forward to going over this with you. I will give everybody just one more second to get in and we'll get started. Okay, so today's topic, as you know, is plugin apps for 2021. And before I get into some of the apps for 2021, we'll do a quick, it'll be pretty quick recap of 2020 so far. And as most of you know, we have not done a whole lot of new plugin builds in the 2020 calendar year. That is definitely going to change in 2021 as we make a move to increase the usability and flexibility of what CoreCommerce can do above and beyond what it already can support today. And so, with that said, on my next screen here, I will introduce myself. As I mentioned, my name's Chris. Most of you have spoken to me or emailed me by this point. I've been around here forever. Um, been with CoreCommerce since 2003. Been in this industry, of course, since that same year. And I've done everything there is to do in this business, from managing our PCI compliance to managing sales leads to managing support personnel. Just I've done all of it. So um, there's nothing I really don't know about how to keep this business moving forward. So um, with that said, the next screen that you're seeing now are some of the things that we plan on adding in the first and second quarter of 2021. Hopefully, all of these in the first quarter of 2021. That's the current goal. And you see on here, there's Avalara, there's TaxJar, which are very two similar products, but there are a couple of distinct differences that want us to that give us the opportunity to add both of them. There's also Shippo, which is going to help a lot with getting shipping rates and printing labels and streamlining that whole process. And then there's MaxMind, which is an additional tool for fraud prevention. And we'll go through a few moments on what each one of these are. I'll start with Avalara. It's a sales tax tool that sits in the cloud. You would sign up for an account with Avalara. You could manage all your entities in Avalara, meaning what all states do you need to collect tax in or potentially collect tax in, any zip codes or specific addresses. And then Avalara will keep track of all of that stuff for you. And the way it works is, you may be used to the built-in tool CoreCommerce has today, where you just go tell CoreCommerce, hey, I want to collect sales tax in Florida, and the percentage is 9.5%, and I'm done, right? And then, but the problem with the tool that we have built in is it's not designed to track or support you in any way for like the economic nexus rules that exist now that didn't exist 5 years ago and 10 years ago, right? So those rules are basically stating that if you hit a certain threshold of sales tax in a certain US state, whether you reside in, or do business in that state or not, if you ship orders to that state, then if you hit a certain threshold based on that state's requirements, you will be required to start collecting sales tax on a go forward basis for the rest of the calendar year in that state. For example, I believe the threshold in the state of Alabama is $200,000 in sales. So if you're a business that does that kind of revenue and you cross the $200,000 revenue sales threshold in the state of Alabama, and the state of Alabama is not your home state, then going forward after that threshold is broken, you need to collect sales tax on every order after that 200,000 limit has been reached. So no, it's almost like you get the first $200,000 worth of Alabama sales tax free, and then after that you have to collect sales tax on the rest of them. Now each state's going to have different requirements. Some states are strictly a volume requirement like that. Other states are about the number of transactions, and they all vary, right? So the challenge is there's no way, you know, a small business owner, medium business owner is going to keep up with all those rules manually themselves in a tool like CoreCommerce and go add tax rates as they need them. That's what Avalara helps you do. Their system will track all of that stuff. CoreCommerce not only will talk to Avalara to grab the sales tax rate based on the address entered by the customer, they will also verify based on all the order history they have from your system on, are you even supposed to be collecting sales tax in this state yet? Have you hit the threshold for that state yet? And if you have, then it knows to grab the appropriate tax rate and charge the customer accordingly. If it does not, if you're not allowed or not required to collect sales tax in that state at this point in time, maybe you're only at 100,000 in sales or you're 10,000 in sales and you're not even close to that threshold, then it will know that and return back to us a tax rate of zero, and then it can charge the customer zero in that case. Now with Avalara, you don't know what you're going to pay by going to their website. Their pricing is based exactly on the amount of times you use their platform, the amount of times you're requesting tax rates, and the amount of different API calls you make. And so in order to get an idea of what you're going to pay for their service, which can get a bit pricey depending on what you do, you have to contact them and go through a whole process just to get an idea of what it's going to cost you. An alternative to that, and this is TaxJar. And TaxJar, functionally, what it will do for you in CoreCommerce is very similar. It's going to grab tax rates. It's going to track economic nexus stuff for you. And the difference between what TaxJar is going to do and what Avalara is going to do is TaxJar's pricing is more based on the volume of sales you run through it, not the amount of API calls you make to their system, right? So you can go to their website, you can start a 30-day free trial, and you can get a great idea off the top of what TaxJar is going to cost you, which is typically going to be less expensive than Avalara in most cases. I'm not going to say that's every case, but in most cases that would be the case. So we had a customer come to us that suggested we look into this, and it's something they really wanted to use. They weren't going to use Avalara, but we know that we need some sales tax cloud related tools in our platform to offset the use of the basic tax tool system that we have today, which works fine if you're a small business that's going to do 50 grand a year in total revenue. Our basic tax wizard in most cases will work just fine for you because you're only going to ever really collect sales tax probably in the one state you reside in where your business is registered, right? But if you're a business that's going to do 300, 400, 500,000 a year in revenue, that's where these tools will come in more handy, because then those economic nexus rules are going to come more into play for you. And you're potentially going to have to start out of nowhere collecting sales tax in a state. Oh, well, starting next week, we have to collect sales tax in Texas because we hit their threshold, right? So, some of our clients that do millions of dollars a year in revenue, they're going to run into those issues, and they have to be ready to support those issues. And that's where these tools are going to come help them get past those points. Moving on past the sales tax revenue is a platform we're going to have to help streamline shipping called Shippo. And we may plan on adding one or two other alternatives to Shippo as we go down the path here. But first and foremost, we want to work with this company. And what Shippo does is they partner with over 50 global carriers, as you can see there, to allow shipping from many different vendors. So they've done all the integration work for USPS and for UPS and for FedEx to get rate quotes and to print labels and all those things that you can do now today. In CoreCommerce, currently what you have now is, for example, a direct integration with FedEx, a direct integration with UPS. Um, but we can't leverage the discounts from UPS that Shippo can, because Shippo is a much bigger provider that has agreements in place with these carriers to provide them with discounted rates. So the benefit of a Shippo is that you can come on board or you can switch to it, and you can sign up for a Shippo account and start taking advantage of discounted shipping rates from UPS and from FedEx and from the Postal Service without having your own account, without having your own discounted rates from UPS for your own UPS account, for example. You can just sign up and start getting shipping rates, and then use Shippo to start printing labels out on day one without having to do all the registration for all the accounts yourself. So that's where Shippo comes in really handy as an alternative. If you have your own UPS account today and you use it in CoreCommerce and you already get discounted rates, you will 1000% still be able to do those things. So this will be an alternative. It's not something we're forcing customers to switch to. It'll be a new option for new customers that come on board to be able to use this product to easily get rates off of UPS and Postal Service and FedEx. And it'll also print labels using Shippo's tools to print labels. So, for example, in Shippo, you'd be able to go in and configure which type of zebra printer or label printer you have. And so Shippo knows exactly what type of image to give you that's going to work optimally for that printer. And you configure that in your Shippo account, so that when you print the label in CoreCommerce and it returns the image, it's returning the image that's designed for the exact printer you told Shippo to work with. So what that does is prevent CoreCommerce from having to um, manually and monitor and keep up with all the different printer types out there and do all that maintenance ourselves. Shippo does all that for us. And so it makes things a lot simpler and a lot more streamlined, and you'll be able to get labels a lot cleaner out of the system versus what we do today is we just return an image, and it's the base kind of stock image from UPS, for example, and it may or may not fit the printer you use, perfectly. Maybe it fits okay, maybe it fits good enough, but Shippo's going to let you fine tune that to the exact printer you have, so the dimensions you get match it perfectly. And Shippo works with other carriers too, DHL and other carriers that you can as well. It will grab rate quotes for us. So, most of you guys are used to customer adding the cart and then clicking a calculate shipping button and then seeing, UPS ground $10, UPS second day air $15, right? Well, Shippo is going to allow us to do the same thing. So if you use your Shippo account to do this going forward, CoreCommerce will simply just connect to Shippo and grab these rate quotes through Shippo's connections with UPS and FedEx, et cetera, and grab these rate quotes and show them back to the customer. Now, the benefit of that is right now, if you're connecting to UPS and you're passing it certain data using our existing tool, and UPS comes back and says the ground rate is $11, for example, you may run into a situation where the exact parameters you're using in CoreCommerce may not match the exact parameters you're using, for example, in a ship station. And so then you go to print a label in ShipStation and the shipping's off by like 3 pennies or 20 cents or $1 or something like that. And it's because the configurations are slightly different, right? CoreCommerce is being told one set of parameters, and your ShipStation account, for example, or any other platform you might use like that, might be told to use slightly different parameters for UPS. Therefore, the rates they get kind of can mismatch sometimes. Because ShipStation is just going to, for example, ShipStation is just going to take, the rate that we pass to them, saying here's how much the customer paid for shipping, right? So with Shippo, because it's all going to work through the same system and the same APIs, you can know that the shipping rate you got for UPS and the shipping rate the customer ended up paying to UPS based on what Shippo gave us is going to be the same exact rate that you get when you go to print the label. So if you need to mark stuff up and make money on shipping potentially, you know exactly what you can do to in order to make money and make small margins on your shipping. So that's where Shippo and all the tools that they have built in come in really handy. And so we'll be adding that in the first quarter of next year as well. the next thing on the list is MaxMind. And MaxMind is a fraud scoring tool. We already have one plugin for this called Signified, which some of you may have known, or some of you may even use it today. And MaxMind is similar, but not exactly the same. MaxMind does not provide you with a back end account where you can view all the transactions and view all the individual little data points piece by piece by piece. And Signified also offers a fraud guarantee that MaxMind does not. Um, where Signified, basically if you pay them the extra service fees for the guarantee, then, if they give you a green light on an order and you ship it and it turns out it was fraud, they'll cover it with, it's basically shipping insurance, right? And MaxMind's not going to give you that. The difference though is Signified on average is going to end up costing you a lot more per shipment, to per order, excuse me, per transaction to use. I know of a couple of customers that use Signified, and they, because of the amount of orders they put through, they may pay a few $100s a month to use Signified or more, right? MaxMind is going to be less expensive of an option. The dings on each attempt that you use to get a score are going to be cheaper. Because, like, for example, they're not underwriting any of these sales. They're leaving it up to you to make the decision. Still, they're giving you some information, and if that information helps you save a couple fraud orders here and there, great. If it also, tells you some information and you end up shipping an order and it's still fraudulent anyway, it's that's just the way that would work, right? There's no insurance or anything that they're gonna do. So their tools are basically, here's all the data you gave me. Here's my best guess as to whether I think this might be fraudulent or not. And then the decision is still up to you, and the liability would still be up to you as well. But it's a smaller tool. Like I said, it costs you a lot less per month to use than a Signified would. And it gives you some decent data points, and um, it seems like a pretty viable solution just for the price point it offers. And just it doesn't have the liability part, right? But a lot of customers aren't willing to pay um, the the fees that Signified is going to charge in order for you to have that peace of mind. And it's definitely not cheap to do it. So with that said, I have one other thing I want to show you guys that I didn't present at the beginning, and social selling. And some of you, and one of the things that CoreCommerce is going to do a lot of work on in 2021 is social integrations, and doing a lot of the newer stuff that you can do specifically through Facebook and Instagram that 5 years ago didn't exist, right? And so when the first versions of social sharing came out, 8-10 years ago, CoreCommerce was one of the first applications to build that into their system, where you would be on a product and you could click the button to say share this on Facebook, and it would just share it, right? But all you were doing there was just sharing a link to a product page on your personal timeline. It didn't have a whole lot to do with your business, right? So we created an app years and years ago. Ironically enough, it was called social commerce, which is kind of the generalized term for what this all means now. But it was an app that kind of lets you plug in products from your CoreCommerce store into your Facebook store. So that's an old app. It doesn't exist anymore. But there's a lot of newer technology, of course, um, that we can take advantage of, and that we will be taking advantage of in 2021. For example, being able to use your Facebook store to post products, let people buy potential sales from you simply by commenting um, on a post you shared in your store. There's tools that allow you to do things like that, and you can do the same thing not only on Facebook but with Instagram as well. And many of you have, and maybe some of you actually do this manually today, where you want to promote something related to your business through one of your pictures on your Instagram feed. So you'll post a photo, and then you click the promote link, if you're a business account in Instagram, and then you can pay to promote that link basically tie a link to your website or link to a certain product on your store through that image. And you can say, I want to run this and pay $6 over 4 days or whatever you set up. And so CoreCommerce is going to build the ability for you to take a product and then like create an entire Instagram promotion from within the CoreCommerce admin. So you don't have to manually go to Instagram, upload the picture, and then hit the promote button and then manually kind of promote it through Instagram like you would probably do today. This system would allow you to basically have a link in your CoreCommerce admin for that product that just said promote this product on Instagram. It asks you for a few pieces of data, what image you want to use, and boom, it uses the APIs, connects to your Instagram account, uploads the image, and creates the promotion for you automatically. And then boom, you didn't even have to leave your CoreCommerce admin. So stuff like that is pretty cool. And there's going to be other little pieces of this that I didn't mention here that we're still working through. What other little small integrations? There'll still be the standard stuff, being able to just share on Facebook and share on Instagram and share on probably Twitter at some point when we get back to that stuff. But our real focus is going to be Facebook and Instagram. Those are the two apps where social selling has become a phenomenon. Twitter, not so much yet, but definitely Instagram for sure, Facebook for sure. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff there as well. And with that said, that ends the presentation I had for today. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll stop recording and take a couple questions.